The blackout begins. Hey everybody, you're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust, back with another dose of economic reality. Bull to the bust, BX4 News, back in the building. Let's go ahead and get started here. Please make sure you subscribe, by the way. Right there, is that where it is? The blackout begins. Folks, we talked about this a few days ago. I don't think this is going to have any effect on anything. But here's what is being widely reported, and this is the Times. No Amazon, no Walmart. Protests calling for economic blackout has some celebrity support. Wow, if celebrities are supporting it, must be important, right? We're going to get into that. A movement calling for an economic blackout on Friday. Here's what to know, folks. I think this is going to have little to no effect on anything. Because guess what? All the stuff in my Amazon cart that I was going to buy today, I'll probably just buy tomorrow. But I'm not even participating in the blackout, so maybe I'll still buy it today. What am I talking about? An organization is calling for a national boycott in the form of an economic blackout on Friday. Well, it helps that all the news outlets are amplifying it, right? This movement, spearheaded by the People's Union USA, is a grassroots group following the rollback of DEI initiatives. Several companies, including Target. The boycott coincides with the protests against the current administration, plans to reduce the government workforce, and mass firings at federal agencies. Folks, this is not going to do a darn bit of good. I'm not telling anyone if this is what you think is going to help things. I'm not telling anyone not to do it. But I just don't think there's going to be enough people on board to even make a tiny fraction of a dent. Why? Because Americans are addicted to spending. They're addicted to spending. And if you're addicted to something, you're not going to stop, especially if it's just one day. And I think even people that are participating in this are probably feeling a little bit silly. But hey, who am I to say? Maybe this will change the world and the world's going to be a better place and the cost of living is going to come down and they'll reverse the layoffs and this will change the trajectory of everything. Does anyone believe that? I don't. I don't think any of you believe it either. All right, let's talk about, though, a little bit more about this. Then we got a lot of other financial economic news to get caught up on: the housing market, the stock market, investing, cost of living, autos, a lot of other things to get into today. All right, moreover, on this economic quote-unquote blackout, for generations, this is a quote, for generations our families worked, sacrificed, and fought to build a better future. Yet here we stand, still waiting, unquote. The group posted in a video on Instagram. Continued, we the people will not wait any longer. We stand in solidarity to honor the past and carve a new path for the future, unquote. So they're sounding like, the ones behind this, the backers of this, they're sounding like they strive to make a difference in the cost of living. They're saying we the people cannot wait any longer. For generations, our families worked and sacrificed and fought to build a better future. I think they're talking about the cost of living. So it seems like they're thinking this is going to bring down prices, a one-day boycott or blackout. And another backer of the group says, quote, this is a day of economic resistance. Are you participating? And if you are you confident that it's going to help? And if you're not participating, if you're just like me, you're just kind of observing it, do you think this will have any positive or negative effect, any effect on anything? I mean, please let me know down in comment. The boycott will begin at midnight on Friday and last for 24 hours. During this time, the organization encourages Americans not to buy anything. This includes gas, food, shopping. What if your vehicle's on empty and you have to go to work? I guess you're just going to have to call in sick. Don't buy any fast food. Don't do any shopping in line or at the stores at major retailers. If participants need to buy anything, they're encouraged to shop at local and small businesses. Okay. Essential items such as medicine, food, and emergency supplies can still be bought. Okay, so it's okay to shop at a major retailer if it's emergency medicine, food, or other essential supplies, is what they're saying. Sounds all good and well, I guess, but here's the thing. Local retailers, you won't be able to find what you're looking for. I guarantee that. There's been so many local, small, mom-and-pop businesses wiped out over the past many decades, wiped out in many cases by big, mega department stores, Walmarts, etc., that you're not going to be able to find much of what you need if you're going to go to just a local place, right? So imagine you're going to a major grocery store and then maybe one of those super Walmarts where they have the grocery store and everything else, the big ones, and you decide everything you were going to buy there, you're going to try to find at a local mom and pop business. So you're going to be driving around to all these different places, and by the way, you're going to be burning up gas, but you're not supposed to buy gas, but you're going to go to all these different businesses. See what I'm saying here? So how efficient is this really going to be? But it's interesting to talk about, and it's interesting to, I think, see what some people think are going to be the solutions here. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me know again down in the comments if I'm wrong, and I'm sure there will be a couple of you, just like there is in every video, a couple of you jumping all over me, telling me I'm wrong. And tell me why I'm wrong and let me know down in the comments. Will this have an effect? Will this have a noticeable impact on anything? But wait, we got to talk about the celebrities, folks. The celebrities are backing it. I don't care what celebrities think. Do you care what celebrities think? I don't care what celebrities think. I've always thought it was interesting about celebrity endorsements, and you see these commercials where they get celebrities to be in the commercials, like Samuel L. Jackson in the Capital One commercial. Like, that's going to make me use my Capital One card more. All right, like I'm at the checkout line and I'm trying to choose which card to use. Will it be Visa? Will it be my Bank of America card? Will it be my credit union card? Wait, Capital One. Is it Capital One? That's what Samuel wants me to use. I'm going to use my Capital One card because he said so on the commercial. Is anyone is anyone going to be motivated or influenced by the commercial of a celebrity to change their spending habits? And I want to know, what's in your wallet? Hey, wait a minute, man. That's kind of an invasion of my privacy, buddy. What's in my wallet? Don't worry about it. That's my business. You worry about what's in your wallet. I'll worry about what's in my wallet. All right, let's move on, folks. I apologize. I'm feeling a little bit silly today. So hope you are not scared off by that. Bitcoin plunging, folks. We had a peak of about 105, just under 106,000. And we plunged down now to 79,000. I'm recording this actually around 10 p.m. on February 27th, right? So this price could be different as this video gets put out the following morning, which will be Friday. But folks, big drop here. And just a recent plunge just in the last day here from in the 90s. Well, actually, no, not the last day. It's been dropping pretty significantly since the 21st. I've always warned here, people here, I've warned you about the volatility of cryptos. And I only buy after there's a big plunge, right? The last time I bought any Bitcoin was back at 3,000. And I still hold some of it right now. I sold some off when it spiked. But I wouldn't be buying anything above 50,000. I would wait for a plunge way below 50,000. But that's just me. Did I not bring up the chart? Yeah. So here it is, the plunge. And we'll see where it is as I'm recording this. And I'll do a follow-up video, I think, on Friday. We'll check it out here later in the day. Sudden $1 trillion crypto market shock sees Bitcoin plunge under 80,000, folks. And it could be a lot more. Again, big money controls the prices, right? You have a few mega investors out there, and this is true for the stock market. This is true even for the housing market. If you had all the billionaire investors sell off even part of their portfolios all at once, the markets would come down. The housing market with all the big money invested in housing, the stock market, especially the stock market, where the top 10% own about 90% of all stocks. And the same is true for these digital assets, right? When certain people want the price to come down, just a handful of them need to get together, all sell at once. And that's what they do when they want to initiate a plunge. But the problem, the average person is going to be left, their head's going to be spinning because they're not going to know what's happening. They're not in on the moment that everybody's supposed to sell. Most people aren't in on it, but a few big money people are in on it, what we call the whales. The whales will make the market come down when they want it to come down. And you have to ask yourself, do the whales have more motivation now, recently, to make the markets come down than they did previously? I want you to think about that and ask yourself, maybe they will. All right, let's move along to something else here, folks. The cost of living, inflation. We've got beef prices near record highs. We've got egg prices still going up higher, folks, on average. And people are scratching their heads and they're looking at this and they're wondering, what is going on? Where does it end? Where does it end? We see more flu outbreaks and more things like that that cause these high prices, more of these announcements are being made. And here's how they put it over at NerdWallet. Grill masters and Taco Tuesday fans have good reason to wince about the price of beef. Beef prices have been high for years, but now they're soaring even higher. Wait a second. I thought inflation was going to come down on day one. Didn't we hear that over the past few months? It's going to come down on day one. Sirloin steak prices average $11.97 per pound. 40 cents shy of November's record high of $12.01. Ground beef, $5.55 per pound in January, down slightly from a record $5.67. And something pretty interesting out of this article. When will beef prices go down? Here's the answer. Generally, beef prices will go down when supply increases and demand decreases, or both. So there you go, folks. You need to do a blackout on eating beef, unless you're a vegetarian and you're already doing it. You need to go vegetarian for 24 hours and the price will crash. Is that what's going to happen? I don't think so. But they're right, though. When supply increases and demand decreases, then you might have some price corrections. But do you see people pulling back on eating beef or hamburger? Very unlikely. Very unlikely. People out here in California are still grilling. The weather's pretty nice. And in fact, I'm going to do some grilling this weekend. And I'll probably go with the hamburger instead of the steak, though, because of the prices. All right, next up here, folks. Jobless claims just spiked, and that's a worrisome sign for the U.S. labor market. Well, we have massive layoffs, and jobless claims are definitely likely to spike and continue to spike with all the layoffs happening right now. And there's an estimated 242,000 jobless claims filed last week, according to the data released Thursday out of the Department of Labor. That's an increase of 22,000 from the prior week's tally, and a figure that landed well above economists' expectations for 220,000 claims. So remember, there's a balance here, folks. We want the cost of living to come down, or most people want the cost of living to come down. A lot of job losses would normally cause the cost of living to come down, but you need a lot more than just 242,000. So if we see the millions that are being projected, with all the cuts we're seeing right now out of the federal labor force, that could bring the cost of living down. The problem is you're going to have so many people struggling financially. You could also bring the rest of the economy down with it, right? So there's actually people out there that want the economy to come down. They want there to be massive layoffs, and they want the economy to come down. They want a recession. They even want a crash, because some people actually do better in a recession and in a crash than they did while the economy was being basically pumped up, or while the bubbles were being inflated or kept from deflating, so to speak, right? So bursting bubbles, the people that are prepared, the people that are ready, like all the people on the sidelines that are ready to buy a home, some of them will benefit if the housing market comes down, for example. The problem is, when there's a broader economic downturn, will you have a job? Because then if things spread, if all these jobs that are being cut right now, those people stop spending money, obviously they're going to become much tighter with their budgets. That could have a ripple effect throughout the economy, because one person spending money, that's another person's job. We know that 70% of the labor market right now, or 70% rather, of the economic growth is people spending money. And in most cases, it's borrowed money. So when people become really strict and tight on their budget, snowball effect, many other jobs get lost with it as well. That's why they're so adamant on keeping people able to borrow money, keep the banks loaning out money. And the higher interest rates made just a slight impact on the way people spend money. People are just accumulating more and more debt. And for now, still finding a way to keep their budgets from imploding. But things are changing, folks. There's actually a lot of delinquencies and defaults that are piling up even faster than before. So are we reaching an endpoint here, or maybe the end of the road, so to speak? All right, we see news today like this. Credit delinquencies rise as late payments reach pre-pandemic levels. Now, we've been seeing stories like this for a while, and it seems like people always find a way to kick the can down the road, or to find some more rope to hold on to, so to speak. You know, if they're at the end of the rope, they find more rope to hold on to. I guess that would be the way to say that. Also, we recently found out that about 50% of consumer spending was driven by just the top 10%. So the mega wealthy out there buying pretty much what they want to. They could buy anything. they're driving about half of the economic growth, and that's pretty much, for the most part, it's debt driven. For the top 10%, it would make sense that most of the top 10%, they're not just running up debt. A lot of them are spending money they probably have in the bank. But back to the delinquencies here. Consumer credit delinquencies rose to the highest level in years. According to Vantage, January 2025 Credit Gauge report, a monthly analysis gauging the overall health of the U.S. consumer via credit reveals consumer credit delinquencies rose to the highest level in 5 years, and late payment reached pre-pandemic levels. Late payments. The combination of rising mid to late stage credit delinquencies and rising credit balances suggests a growing debt burden that some consumers are increasingly struggling to manage. Well, if the top 10% are driving half of the spending, even if the bottom 90% have struggles, you might see the spending continue just driven by the top 10%, right? It might not come down as much as people think, even if a bunch of people start defaulting, if it's the top 10% driving, in this case, almost half of the spending. Quote, higher borrowing costs and post-holiday spending likely drove the notable increase in auto loan delinquencies in January. Overall, mid to late term delinquencies rose to the highest levels since January 2020. Credit card originations dropped 0.23% monthly in January, driven by reduced post-holiday consumer demand. The sharp month-over-month decrease indicates that borrowers may be prioritizing managing their existing debt rather than taking on new revolving debt. In January, overall credit balances increased $105,000, which was up 1% from December. So overall credit balances, aka debt, went up another 1% just in 1 month. PepsiCo announces major plant closure and layoffs. Well, that plant definitely needs to close. Another fire? Is that a new one? PepsiCo, a snack and beverage giant that owns 23 brands, announced that a Frito-Lay plant in Liberty, New York will close at the end of spring, laying off 300 people. The plant has been a noticeable employer in the region for at least 3 decades, and the mass layoffs are likely to impact the town's economy. Layoffs are occurring across industries right now with significant cuts to the federal workforce. So less federal employees eating potato chips, and now Frito-Lay is laying people off. Could that be it? Next, look at this, folks. Funding freezes hit food banks. Are we going to see a massive starvation event unfold? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but let's just check this article out. Funding freezes hit food banks. Pauses in federal money allotments may limit available supplies at pantries. We've already seen reports of pantries saying they're running low on food, running out of certain foods. Area residents who rely on local food banks and food pantries that in turn rely on the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank for supplies may not be able to obtain as much fresh milk, eggs, and meat. Yeah, what about the eggs? Are they still giving out eggs for free to people? Meat and potentially reduce produce as they've been accustomed to getting due to suspensions of federal funding. One funding pause applies to money allocated through the Local Food Purchasing Act passed by the previous administration that was stated to run until 2026, which this year was expected to provide the food bank with $100,000 a month for such food, but that could be under threat. We're already getting notices of truckload cancellation. So how widespread is this going to be? And what's going to happen when the people that need this run out? Just going to be a bigger spike in homeless people, unfortunately. But there are some good stories out there, some good news. Some people say that I just pick a negative news or doom and gloom stuff. Not at all. I'm just looking through the economic news, folks. But if you want something positive, I guess you can call this positive. Eli Lilly announces $27 billion investment in U.S. drug manufacturing sites. So the current administration is basically pressing companies and drug makers in this case to come back to the United States. They're going to spend $27 billion to build 4 new drug manufacturing sites in the U.S. Why can't they use some of these vacant commercial buildings? There's a whole bunch of vacant commercial buildings, but they're going to build new sites. The company announced on Wednesday, at a time when the current administration is seeking to persuade other companies to come back to the United States. 3 of their new facilities will focus on making active pharmaceutical ingredients. And the fourth will focus on injectable therapies. Lilly said the sites may require 10,000 construction jobs and 3,000 technical jobs. And of course, people working in the facility once it's completed. So there you go. Jobs coming back to the U.S. Will they be able to stay open with the wages that people are demanding? All the strikes that we've seen across the U.S. over the past couple of years, especially people demanding higher wages. So what kind of company would want to come back to a country where the cost of living is so high? We're going to have a bunch of people protesting and holding up signs and going on strike because everything costs too much. The cost of living is too much. Or do these companies see something that we don't? Maybe they see a much lower cost of living in the future, and it'll be a great environment because people won't be striking for higher wages because the cost of living is going to come down and everything's going to be wonderful. All right. We'll see how it plays out, folks. Let me know what you think about all this down in the comments. Also, go back to the beginning of the video. What do you think about the blackout for today, February 28th? Will it have an impact? Are you participating? Let me know about any of this down in the comments, folks. We'll see you down there. As always, keep stacking. Bye for now.